First Star Wars came out when I was 7 years old, and that's the thing that inspired me to make any films, not just this film. The same with 2001. They re-released it in England in the wake of the success of Star Wars, and so my dad took me to see it on this huge screen in Leicester Square. And I've never really lost that memory of what it felt like to have a larger-than-life experience, cinematic experience. And Interstellar is certainly my attempt to try and induce that feeling in today's audiences, particularly kids.
So yes, of course, it's an homage to, yes, he's inspired by Kubrick, but it's not a copying.
I think that it occupies some of the same territory, but that is very much its own thing, and I think this film is also its own unique flower.
Reading this, I had to go back and trying to make sure I understood as well as I could the science of it, the theories of relativity, time bending, space-time. And so once I was able to get my head around those a little bit, I understood the journey a little bit better. But what I did understand from the beginning was a man with a dream who no longer had the chance to live that dream out until it came knocking again. I did understand a goodbye to a child, a father-daughter relationship, which at the heart of this is what it's about.
You look at it, it's called Interstellar. Obviously, we go out and we explore what's out there in the universe, but it's human beings doing the exploring, so a great part of the film is exploring what's in here.
As much as it is about space exploration and travel and time and gravity and black holes, and there's so much science in the film, but actually at its core, it's a film about the powerful bonds of love.
This is at the center of life. You know, the relationships that we have with people, the love that we feel, the people that we are, that is the center of life. And then if that life includes going to the far reaches of the universe, well, great. But if you don't have this to start out with, I'm not sure what all that distance, what good all that distance is going to do.
You know, what's different in this one is, I mean, Contact had, you know, Jodie's character actually going, but this, we really go into the unknown.
There is so much surprise and delight in discussing the possibilities, the potential of physics with a guy like Kip Thorne that I couldn't possibly narrow it down to just one thing. I tried to put the most evocative elements of what he was able to share with me into the actual narrative of the film. So there's a lot of concern with time and relativity and things like that, but all kinds of other things to do with gravity and so forth. It was really a great adventure to be engaged in discussing real-world possibilities as they would relate to a larger-than-life science fiction adventure.
Main questions were about trying to understand the science of it, the plausibility of it, to understand the rules of each different geography that we were in. And that just, a lot of that was just for me to understand, so I knew what the heck I was talking about, you know, on some level. It was an awe-inspiring story on paper. I have to say I like it even more what's on screen than what was on paper, which I'm happy to say. This is incredibly optimistic. You know, it's not it has its doomsday side, but it's not about the end of the world. It's about the rebirth or the transference of the species. You know, so it's not it's eternally optimistic in the end. It's hell getting there, and it will be if we need to do it, I suppose, but it's a very optimistic take on what usually is a sci-fi.
I think what it's saying is human ingenuity is one of the most powerful forces there is. It's what's going to allow us to survive. It's what's allowed us to survive so far, and I think it's going to be what allows us to move out and discover our true place in the universe.
This is a film that celebrates our spirit for exploration, because we as human beings are explorers. We go into the depths of the ocean and, you know, into space, and I remember seeing videos of men walking on the moon, and when I was a child watching, you know, the Challenger explode, and this idea that, you know, the danger and the courage that these people have when they go out into space. I think it kind of is a call to arms that yes, we are explorers by nature, and we need to continue to see what's out there.
The science fiction in the film could be, you could argue that it's about faith, hope, love, intuition, those things that we can't measurably define, but we know are there, and we know, define what consequences we end up, define our behavior, why we do things, but we can't measurably put them on paper and say, here's the math to those things. And so you could call that the science fiction. So as far as you go out there into the unknown, it really, at the end of the story, brings us right back to a very personal level and makes each one of us look in the mirror and say, yeah, it's about you.